We are back. 5 minutes with Fitzy. Hello, Peter FitzSimons. A little bit further away from each other.
Was it about 2 months since we did this?
Yeah. It's gone quick.
I suppose you've been getting the emails and tweets. Where are you? I can't live.
Exactly. Well, I'll still be getting my hit of you on Sunday morning on Sports Sunday.
We're doing well. Ratings are pretty good.
Oh, he's happy. He's happy. He's a numbers man. Let's rip into it. Speaking of numbers man, Peter V'landys.
I've heard of him.
You certainly have. You'll be hearing a lot more about him too, Peter. He's got his way with May 28, the return of rugby league. July 1, though, for crowds to return. That's the date he's set. Too ambitious.
Yeah. Now, I know the way this usually works is you throw me the questions and I say the bleeding obvious, at which point I get the angry tweets and the emails, how dare you, you hate rugby league. So this time I will give my view, but why don't we just for a change, Mr. Fence Sitter, Mr. Neutral, Mr. Colonel, men, you go over the top while I sit here smoking this cigar. Why don't we hear your view?
This isn't 5 minutes with Bracey, but I will say I like it. I like that he's setting dates. Give it a crack.
Oh yeah, you like
What's the worst that could happen? He doesn't get his way.
What's the worst that can happen?
No, he doesn't get his date.
Hang on. I'll go with that question.
That's the clickbait headline.
I will go with that question. What is the worst that could happen?
They say no and they push it back.
No,
I'm not talking about people contracting the virus at stadiums.
That's not the worst that can happen.
See, this is why I don't give my opinion.
The worst that can happen is the government says, oh, Mr. V'landys, yes, Mr. V'landys, yes, that will be done. May 28th, we've done that, Mr. V'landys. Yes, we'll go to July 1st, crowds are open, let the turnstile spin.
There you go.
And then the worst that can happen is what happened when that team in Italy played the team in Spain, the biological time bomb that went off. Okay,
but they won't do it. They'll go through the right protocols. I mean, he's just asking for a date.
You have said, what is the worst that can happen? And I'm giving you the answer.
It's good to be back.
The worst that can happen is the government once again caves in and says everybody through the gates, and somebody in the crowd has got it, and then it spreads around. I mean, please, that's madness. Say it for what it is, James, madness.
So you think the footy returning on May 28 is madness?
I certainly thought that at the time that they announced it. At the moment, it's dangerous, but we'll see what happens.
Right, so time has seen you, I guess,
the numbers have come down.
So what's to say that time between now and July 1 wouldn't see you shift from saying no crowds to crowds?
But look, to the point where you've got these guys, we're promised that they'll be in their own bubble. Yeah, okay, so their self-isolation bubble. So what's that, 28, 13.3 carry 1 subtract 2, 26 plus another 40, blah, 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 who we're told are observing protocols. To go from that point to say you'll have a crowd of 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 and you'll trust that they're fine too, would you say that that's okay? At what point do you cut it off?
I'm just trusting the process. I believe if the government is ticking off on whatever they want to happen.
So you thought it was fine that everybody stopped at the traffic lights for 2 months, and that Gladys and Scott Morrison, the Premier and the Prime Minister go, yeah, rugby league, you've been observing all the protocols for all, you come forward and everybody, you thought that was fine?
Absolutely. I think this is fine. The footy's back. The footy, it's back for a reason. It's back for a reason. Where does Peter V'landys rate in the sporting administrators in this country to you? Peter?
Oh, look, most influential, absolutely right up. I mean, there'd be nobody that would get close to him in terms of his power and influence.
I mean, when you break it down, he's just doing his job.
He's arguing his turf. And as we said he's arguing his corner, pushing his corner. And as we said on Sunday, absolutely no doubt about it. Purely from the point of view of sport, from rugby league, you bloody beauty. I choose to think there are wider concerns than just the narrow band of what's good for sport. I'll go with, and I am not alone on this by any means whatsoever. The broad mass of the populace thinks it doesn't make sense that we, sport be the one that go forward, go first. And the truth of it is, at the point that the government caved on sport, they had to cave on pretty much everything else, which is more or less what they're doing. And I hope, and I repeat, I hope everything turns out fine.
July 1, we'll see how it all pans out. Now, in the meantime, on the eve of the season resuming in rugby league, we've seen Bronson Xerri, rising superstar in the NRL, plays with the Cronulla Sharks, 19 years of age, and Asada knocking on his door, confiscating his phone and handing him a notice that says he's tested positive to a list of banned substances. Now, the B sample still yet to be tested, a lot to play out with this one though, but this is, I guess, raised eyebrows with not just the news of it, But the fact that the test came in November and we're only finding out about this now in late May.
So many points, so little time. It is one thing for a 27-year-old or a 28-year-old who's a mature, fully formed adult with presumably support structures all around, to have tested positive. And we've seen that before with the wife and family. And, you know, first off, they say, I took the cough medicine and I didn't mean to. I'm removing Zeri from this, okay? Yep. But you often see people later in their sporting career and they've got a sort of a support around them, and they knew what they were doing, presumably, when they cheated. In this case, we'll wait to see the B sample. Yep. So we don't know. Let the courts decide. Let the judicial process go through. But my first concern is for him. You know, even though prima facie it looks like he's done terribly the wrong thing, but I worry about a guy that young who seems, from a distance, we don't know, to have made a terrible error or several terrible errors. I hope he will be okay. After that, you know, securing him, and I hope Cronulla, who I think the likelihood is standing down 4 years or something.
Yeah, so you know, he's facing a potential 4-year
which
ban.
Is goodbye forever. Just, you know, I mean...
You think even at 19, I mean, he's back at 23, 24.
Well, okay, I'll take that back. Not goodbye forever. But I hope the Cronulla embraces him and says, look, the first thing that we need to do is, are you okay? We've got to try and sort you out for a job, a livelihood, you know, because the impact on a young man is so extraordinary. Two other things, however. What? Four protocols? I mean, what was he thinking, should that prove to be the case, the B sample come positive? And the third thing is, what? 6 months? How is it? I put this on Twitter last night. Ben Johnson, back in 1988, just before you were born, you know, races on a Thursday, and I think he was busted on, you know, it took 48 hours or whatever. I think he was just about to get on the plane when they said, you've tested positive. But 30 years ago, it took 2 days. Now, how on earth does this, I mean, the timing of this, 48 hours before NRL starts up again, couldn't be worse.
No. And yet, well, that's the thing, and that brings the questions as to, you know, was it planned to rain on the NRL's parade? Is there a headline?
Oh, you think somebody in Canberra said this will stuff the NRL? No, I haven't been in touch with them. No, I mean, I'll be accused of it, no doubt. but I don't. I just find the timing very strange, and it's not fair to everybody. It's not fair to the NRL. It's not fair to the young man involved. I don't know how on earth it takes 6 months to come up with these things tested positive.
Is there more to come? That's the big question now. We'll wait.
You take my point that the first concern of rugby league has to be to start with him, mate. It seems you've made a terrible error. What can we do to sort you out?
Yep, absolutely. But he's got a couple of big decisions to make too, in how he approaches it now, with the way he tackles.
The final question is who. Okay, this is not a young man that went out. If it proves true, it's not a young man that went out to the local pharmacy. I said, want this, and this. This would have been given to him by somebody who presumably, you know, knew what they were doing in terms of, at least in terms of prescribing this stuff.
Yep.
Who was that person? And how quickly can we put them in the dock?
See where it all goes. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Good to be back. Back with
Good
the
to be
bang.
back.
That's 5 minutes with Fitzy.
James climbing off the fence for the first time in 5 years.